Welcome back, one and all. This is CCP Fozzie, joined now by a new commentator, Sir Squeebles. Say hi to everyone, Squeebles.
Hey everyone.
And we are here to bring you Agony Empire versus Circle of Two. This is the beginning of the last quarter of this weekend, the first weekend of the 12th Alliance tournament. Agony Empire have brought a super heavy Vindy Navy Mega setup, and Circle of Two have brought Foons, which will probably be kiting, so it's going to be a very fun match to watch those two combine. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the Circle of Two setup, Squeebs?
The Circle of Two have brought Typhoons, which we've seen previously in the tournaments with mixed success. They have been really susceptible to the damps. You don't get the liberties that you can take with things like the Rattlesnakes, where your drone DPS will travel. You do see Agony fielding as Celestis, so we'll have to see how they spread that pressure across the Foons and the Oneros, and if they do it effectively, it can have a huge impact.
We're now 30 seconds away from the beginning of the match. Agony Empire's full team is Vindicator, Navy Mega, Eos, Aneros, Double Vexer, and then that Celestis that'll be very key, and Triple Vengeance and Merlin. They probably are going to have damps on the Vengeances as well, and probably the Merlin, which is going to make it very difficult for those Foons to lock. So you're going to have to watch the effects appearing in the middle of your UI at the bottom of the screen on the stream. When you see the damp icons appear beside Circle of Two ships, that's going to be very, very important.
And interestingly, there's really not the right amount of tackle on the Circle of Two side to screen these Vindicators. Normally you could get a tanky assault frigate in to cycle that scram to slow them down. They don't really have that option.
Yeah, at this point, they're going to have to rely on the speed of the Foons, I think, to keep range. And they are launching their cruise missiles. We're going to have to see. It looks like the first target's going to be the Navy Mega, as we see the target painter on it. Interesting first choice. I kind of would have expected maybe going after the Aneros first, but we'll see how well it tanks.
Well, like I always say, don't worry about the logic, just do what's in your heart. Some of these Foons were a little bit slow off the line, though. They look like they're still positioned pretty well, so for the most part, okay piloting. Actually, no, two Typhoons sitting still.
And just got caught by a Vindicator. They now have a Vindicator on top of them.
That's not the news you want to be telling your team captain on comms.
No, it isn't.
So this Navy Mega is taking some damage, sorry, and the Vindy is taking a little bit of shield damage, not sure why, but one frigate is going down, which, while that doesn't matter currently, it will matter later in the match as this tackle has to burn down the last of these Foons, but this first Foon of B3 NT is getting hammered right now.
Yes, so he's taking the full brunt of the damage. He did get reps on him now from the Aneros. The Aneros was a little bit slow getting the reps on because the damps applied to him. But the Aneros is also tackled and being neuted and damped. So it's going to be difficult for him to keep active in this fight without getting himself into some pretty severe danger.
And looking over now at the stream, I can see the on-screen effects. You've got three Typhoons. All of them are webbed. The Oneros is webbed. It's neuted, it's nosed, it's damped, and probably dunked shortly thereafter.
Yeah, meanwhile, the Navy Megathron of Galvidia there is holding on just fine. They've lost now a Vengeance, so that's first blood going to Circle of Two, but a Typhoon is about to follow, and that's a really bad trade for CO2. They don't want to be having that choice, and that's a lot of DPS off the field for them.
Yeah, and you've got to wonder, I mean, what was this Ashmu supposed to do? I mean, he has the webs, right, which could be used super effectively. He's only got two ships that he really has to screen to mitigate damage. If he could effectively slow down the Vindy and the Navy Mega, that's a lot of DPS that he could have spared off those Foons. Unfortunately, the Foon sat still, and they made his job difficult, and I guess he decided it wasn't worth it after all.
Yeah, the Ashimu actually did get all the way across the field and has gotten on top of the Agony Empire Aneros. So he's actually done a pretty good job there of being a big problem for that Aneros. He's using the newts, he's using the webs, and they are going to be bringing down the Aneros because of that. The Aneros for Circle of Two on the other side has been taking damage for a while, but it's actually not going down nearly as fast. So once that Aneros goes down for Agony Empire, that means that all of those Frigs and Vexers are going to be very vulnerable.
I missed the bumps earlier in the PL match. Maybe I missed something here, but why, of all the ships, why the Navy Mega? I mean, most likely the tankiest. It's got an additional one low slot over top of the Vindicator, and it doesn't have the web bonus that makes the Vindy so deadly. So if you were going to target one of the battleships to make sure your Foon's applied, why the Navy Mega? Why not the Vindy?
Yeah, I think that is a very good question. The Vindy would seem to be a better choice for a primary. They did end up switching the Aneros, which is good. Now they're going after Vexers, which is another good choice. But yeah, that initial shooting at the Navy Mega seemed like it was a bad idea. Potentially it was the only thing that they could lock at the time, but I did actually see the Vindy get up really close to those Foons very quickly, so they probably could have shot at it as well.
This Ashmu being saved till last, hopefully they kill that and leave a frigate so they have time to scoop all the mods on field, because it doesn't look like there's really a chance to pull back. If you're CO2 at this point, I think you're pretty much out of luck. But this last Typhoon is about to go down. The Ashmu right in the middle, so he's gonna, as an act of solidarity, stay there and die right after. Not sure I understand the target calling in this match. They were both very viable, especially with all that DPS tied up in the battleships. One of the few things that the Typhoons can apply to right off the bat is the battleships. I unfortunately didn't have the stream view up. I didn't see where the damps landed. Were they immediately on the Typhoons?
They were immediately on the Typhoons. Yep, they got them on the Foons and the Aneros right off the bat, which is exactly where they wanted them to be. That being said, the Foons obviously could still apply to the Navy Mega, which was a ways away.
So at this point, I mean, the majority of the time, I would say Typhoons have been defeated by simple damps. I mean, not carries, not anything crazy, just simple low point T1 damping ships have shut down the entirety of your DPS, which kind of makes you wonder if Typhoons maybe not going to be so popular from here on out, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, Typhoons do have a lot of big advantages. The cruise missiles and the speed allow them to project across long ranges, but of course they are very vulnerable to those damps. And that's one of the reasons we're seeing so many drone ships in this tournament so far, is that they have the big advantage of not being nearly as vulnerable to damps. You can assign your drones to a friend and then use those to get around the E-War. That's always been something that's been very popular in the tournament, to dodge electronic warfare, whether it's ECM, whether it's damping, tracking, disrupting. Drone ships have that resistance, while Foons are very, very vulnerable to the damps.
Well, if the FC needs any talking points or screaming points, as the case might be, the speed on those Typhoons at the beginning of the match was, well, the lack thereof, I guess, was a little disappointing, and they maybe want to think about that before they go into their next match, as they will be knocked down to the losers bracket for next weekend. But ultimately, I think people need to look at a lot of these setups and think about E-War, and that's done really effectively by the higher tier teams. But you see things like a Maulus that can just wreak absolute havoc for so little points. It's really dangerous, and it kind of baits the question of, can we really go with a high slot all-in team, or do we need to look at more drone-friendly metas to avoid some of the damp E-War?
Or find ways to get in and kill them. You can, with an effective group of assault frigs, you can get in and kill some of these frigates off fast. Celestis is, of course, a little bit more durable, but then also in danger of being counter-damped. If you have your own frigates with damps, they can get on top of the Celestis faster. I think we're going to be seeing a lot of those damp wars. We saw two very good teams earlier today, Afterlife and PL, managing to ban out almost all of the bonus damp ships in the game, as their ban list included the Celestis, the Maulus, and the carries. And obviously a lot of these teams are very concerned about damps, and we're probably going to keep seeing that.
You can see, though, one, I was about to say it's a tactical error, but it seems that they have pulled it back. They were about to kill the last ship before they got to loot the field. So the FC has called a stop on that. A very good call, and you can see the tournament experience coming through, so everyone can take home extra risk.
Yeah, especially in this tournament, we're seeing a lot of augmented drones, although there aren't any I can see on the field here. Those are always very valuable. While they're doing the looting here, Sir Squeebles, what match are you most looking forward to in the second half of today?
Well, I don't know. I have trouble gauging like which one is the most interesting. I would be lying if I didn't tell everyone, yeah, I have that part of the day where Hydra plays. So I guess I'll just be honest and not clever and say probably the Hydra match.
I think that's going to be a very common answer to that question if we ask a lot of the viewers that right now. Hydra Reloaded versus Triumvirate. Those are two teams that I think a lot of people are expecting to be top five. Hydra Reloaded, of course, having won a previous Alliance tournament and come second in two others. They've actually never come in any position lower than second in an Alliance tournament, which is a pretty impressive pedigree.
And I don't think that'll change here, though. I will add to the end of that I'm looking forward to Surely You're Joking and Almost Awesome for being a great name matchup, and also RVB versus Code, because I think Code is going to bring 12 Suicide Gank and Catalyst.
Yeah, and we're going to get to see what they're going to bring very soon, because this match is now finished, and we're going to send you back for some ads, and then be back in just a few minutes for Red versus Blue versus Code.